Hi everyone, hope you're doing great. Welcome back to another video on PyTest in our Python for test automation series. In our previous video, we completed all the prerequisites that are needed for using PyTest. Then we wrote our first test case and executed it successfully. In this video, we will take it a step further by writing individual test functions within a file as well as organizing the test within a class structure. We will also explore various command line options to discover and run the test efficiently. Additionally, we will also learn how to implement setup and teardown methods both at the method and at the class level. Let's get started. We will follow a similar scenario where the developer writes the application code or a function and the tester is responsible for implementing the corresponding test case. I am going to add a Python package under which I am going to add some functions. I'll create a Python package by name src under which I will add an Python file by name calculator and I add my functions. This is how developer implements an application or a function. So this is very simple thing. I will add an add function that takes two parameters, number 1 and number 2. Then it will return number 1 plus number 2. Similarly, I am going to implement another function called division. Instead of add, I will put it as div and I will change the operator from plus to division. Okay, this is my development code. What I need to do now, I have to develop my test code for that, and in order to do that, again I will go here. I will add a new package called as Python package as tst, and under this Python package I am going to add a Python file. So my file should either start with test or should end with test, otherwise the Pytest will not recognize this. I will put it as test calculator.py. Okay, so the first thing that I need to, in order to validate the calculator.py, I need to import it. So let us do the import. I want to import the from src dot calculator as calc. Okay, now I will implement my test function. Define test add. Here also your method should also start with test so that the Pytest can easily recognize it. Then I will have to call my calculator function calc.add that takes two numbers 10 and 20, and I will have a result. Then I have to do an assert result equals to 10 plus 20 is 30. Okay, this is my first test case. If you want, you can also do a print. We will have a format specifier result of my function test add is result. Let us go and execute it. I'll just go to the root level, which is Pytest learning, and type a command pytest you see it discovered one test and it executed it. Okay, similarly I'll go and add further more test. I will just copy paste this, add 0, I will add it as 0, and here I will have to assert this as 10. Again I will going to add one more function called as add negative, and here the method should be test0. Here the method is test negative, and another number I will give it as -2, and the result should be 10 minus 2 is 8. Now let us go and execute this test. I'll write pytest, enter. You see that pytest discovered 3 tests, 1, 2, 3, and it executed all of them, and all of them got passed. One thing that you can observe here, even though you have given a print statement inside your test function, this print statement is not got executed. Okay, and so in order to have it on a standard out, you need to use a special command line parameters. Let us go and understand the different command line parameters that are supported by Pytest. You can do this by typing a command pytest -help. This basically lists out all the command line options that are part of the Pytest. Okay, we will go through some of them, and there is also a detailed guide in the Pytest official documentation how to invoke the Pytest. Okay, so we'll go one by one, and for example, let us start with pytest -x. Okay, pytest -x will stop after the first failure. That means if you have 3 test cases, and if the first test case fails, then other 2 test cases will not get executed. Okay, let us go and try this. Let us go to the PyCharm, and I will make this as a test fail, and then I will try to give pytest -x, and you see the first test case got failed, and it did not proceed with the other test cases. Okay, and if I remove that option, yeah, then Pytest will say that there are 3 tests out of which 1 failed and 2 are passed. Okay, but if I give -x, this will only going to execute, this is going to try to execute the 3 test cases, but it will stop at the first failure. That is how we can use the -x option. I will go and correct this test case, and I will try to execute now. Now all the tests are passed. Specifying the test / selecting the test. You can also specify the Pytest which test to run. Okay, for example, I'll go to PyCharm, and if you have multiple test functions, okay, I'll try to create one more. I will try to copy this and try to paste it here with the name as a div, and here instead of this I will add it as div, and I'll try to remove them, and here I can use it as div. It takes 2 numbers. I'll make it as 20. Here I'll make it as 10. 20 divided by 10, the answer equals to 2. Okay, now my intention is to only run the tests that are part of the cal.py, not cal_div.py. Okay, in order to do so, I can just specify pytest then the folder is tst, the tests are under the folder tst slash, then I can specify test underscore cal.py. So I am just giving the file name. So what Pytest will do, Pytest will go to this file and search the suitable test cases and it tries to execute it. Under this file we have the three test cases. So the Pytest is going to execute all the three test cases under this particular file. Let us go and execute this, and you see it collected only 3 tests. Okay, in case if I don't give anything, then it is going to search all the directories and subdirectories under the root and all the qualified test. Okay, like the qualification is like the file should start with test underscore and the method also should start with test underscore. Okay, file should start with test underscore or should end with the end as a test, right? So it will basically apply this discovery algorithm and it will discover the test and execute it. Now if I just give a Pytest without anything, then it is going to select 4 test cases. That is because we have 3 test cases under cal.py and 1 test is in under the cal underscore div.py. So if you see, it discovered 4 test cases. Similarly, I can also specify to run the test only under cal underscore div folder. Now it will run 1 test. This is how basically we can ask the Pytest to run only the selected tests. Yeah, -k option basically takes an expression, and for example, if you want to run the test that is having an expression like this, okay, then what it will do, it will go and search this expression on the test that is being discovered and match this, and wherever there is a match, then it will execute it. If I do it like this, there is only one match, so it will execute 1 test case. It executed 1 test case, and if I take out underscore, if I take out the 0 and keep the underscore, we have an underscore with 2 tests. So it has to execute 2 tests, that is underscore 0 and underscore negative. It has to execute 2 tests. See, there were 4 test cases, 3 plus 1, but 2 are deselected and 2 are got executed. This is how basically how you can specify an expression with a command line argument as -k. You can also specify the particular test method to execute, okay, in combination with the test file, the colon with the test method. Okay, let us go and execute this. So I will give cal, this is my test file under which my method is add negative, and this will go and execute only 1 test, selected test. So it got executed, and the selection is mainly based on the test method. So the expression to be used is file colon then test method. We can use a -v option to give more verbose. Let us try and see what it does. So if you see, without v, when we executed, we only got like which is a collected file and what is the result of execution. Let us give -v and see what it does. It gives you more information like what are the method that it get executed and what is the test coverage. Okay, so initially there are 4 tests, so 100 divided by 4 is 25. So each step it increments by 25%. Okay, and also it gives from where the test is being selected and got executed, and also what is a method it get executed. That is with a verbose. And if I add -s, See, if I add minus s, see what happens. When I add minus s, whatever the statement that we have, print statement that we have added, or a debug statement that we have added as part of the test, will get printed onto your standard out. Okay, so you can also use minus s in combination with minus v, which gives a detailed report. If you would have observed, so far whenever we executed our test, Pytest basically did not generate any kind of test report, rather than it has given the test status onto the console out. So Pytest also provides a way to generate a report which is compatible with a JUnit format. Okay, so the command for that is --JUnit XML, and we have to give a path. Let us come here and let us paste this, and let us give the name as text.xml. When we execute it, you see the XML is being generated at this particular path. You can see the XML got generated here. We can open with I think we can open with a Chrome browser. I'll just bring out the Chrome browser and try to pull this. You see the report is being generated, which says that the class name, that is basically the location of your test, that is it is under the package test, under the file test.cal, and what are the method it got executed and how much time each method took for the execution. This report is a very useful report when it comes to integrating and running your test as part of the Jenkins pipeline. Jenkins by default has a plugin to parse the JUnit reports. Now let us try to see how to test an exception. Let us try to create an exception. The way to do this is dividing any number by 0. That results in the divide by 0 exception. So what I will do, I will try to copy this and paste, and I will give a name as 0, and instead of number 2 I will just put it as 0. Okay, so I will not give any assertion, and I will just put assert as true. Okay, let us try to execute only this method by using -k and put this as an expression. And you see this, even though I gave the assert as true, but the test got failed. This is because it thrown an exception, right? Divide by 0 exception. So how to handle this, how to test this? It is very easy. What you have to do, you have to do a with pytest.raises, that is this assertion, then you have to put colon. I think we can also, I already imported Python, and then you can put this statement under here, and in case it goes through, it will basically give you an assert. Basically what we are doing, we are trying to test the exception. So for that we are using the pytest that raises a 0 division error. Okay, and let us try to call this. Now your test case passes, right? Now the test case passes. Okay, now let us try to tweak this a little bit, and I will come here and I will add a condition inside the function. I will say that if the number 2 is equals to 0, then I am going to raise an exception called value error. Okay, I'm going to raise an value error exception. Okay, now my development code is ready. I will come and run my test function. So here I am basically verifying for zero division error assertion, right? Sorry, not assertion, zero division error exception. But in my code I have put the value error. Okay, value error exception. Let us try to see what happens. Basically test should fail because we are trying to check for zero division error assertion, but we got a value error exception, right? So let us try to put this, the value error exception here, and try it. We corrected our test as per the development code, and now let us try to execute this. Now this should pass. This is how basically we can test the exceptions. Now let us try to organize all our test cases inside a test class. To do so, I have to create a class. Class, I will give it as test add class. I will put it as a colon, and I will move all these methods inside, and here I have to give it as self. Yes. And as per the rules, the class should always start with capital T, then followed by E and ST, so that Pytest can understand this. Okay, we can also rename this as in a camel case. Yes, this was a suggestion from PyCharm. So in order to execute a class, we can directly give as an, we can use your file name, then you can give your class name, colon the class name. If you want to execute only the tests that are under this particular class, then you can give this particular expression, the file name colon the class name. It collected 3 tests and all the tests are passed. If you want to execute only a particular method within a class, then you can again, you'll have to give colon, then you have to give the method name. This is how basically you can organize your test into a test class and try to execute it. With the test being organized inside a class, you can take a benefit of setup and teardown functions. Setup and teardown functions are the special functions that run before and after your test classes or your test methods. They are typically used for the test preparation, that is your setup, and cleanup resources, that is your teardown process. And typical example could be initializing and opening a browser during the test setup and closing the browser once your tests are completed, or logging into an application during before starting your test method and logging out once you completed your test method. Similarly, establishing a database connection in the setup and closing it during the teardown process. Let us try to see how we can use setup and teardown functions in Pytest. Pytest provides a different ways of using a setup and teardown functions. One of them is setup module and the teardown module. This will be done at the module level, okay, at the entire file level, okay. Then you can also have the setup and teardown at the class level, that is using the class as a class method as a decorator. Here you will have to use setup class and teardown class. Similarly, there is also a setup method and teardown method which you can use it at the function level. Okay, let us try and explore this. If you are using a class, then you can use setup class and teardown class along with the setup method and teardown method. But in case of the file which is called as a module, here you cannot use a class because your tests are not organized inside the class. In such cases, you can use setup module and teardown module. Okay, both of them will try to use it. What I will do, I will try to copy paste both of them and just use it inside my class. Okay, and I will just comment these print statements, otherwise it will clutter, and I will use this here. Okay, and instead of this I will use method. Okay, since we are using it setup method and the teardown method, it should execute before each test method. Okay, if there are 3 test methods, then before each test method the setup method will invoke, and after each test method the teardown method will get invoked. Okay, let us go and try to execute this. I will go and execute all the tests in a class, and I did not see any print statement. That is because I have to use -s option, and you see, so there are 6 times, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and this is how the setup and teardown method works. So before the test and after the test. Okay, this is, yeah, it's better that we give a good statement here. I think we will give it as before method as method, and then I will give it as after method, otherwise it will be confusing. Now let us try to execute this. You see, before method, this is the method. So the parameter method carries the instance of that particular method, right? So that is why it is printing like this. Okay, so this is how basically you can use a setup and teardown method, which will get executed before and after your test method. If you want to do any kind of setup and clean, for example, if you want to do a login to your application, you can do in a setup method. In the teardown method, you will do the logout. In case if your test fails also, then this method will get executed. Okay, let us try to fail this test. So even though test gets failed, your teardown method will always get executed. Teardown and setup method will always get executed. That is the beauty of it. That is why we can use this method for the preparation as well as for the cleanup. In case if the test case fails, if you want to take a screenshot and other things, you can basically do it under the teardown method. Let us try to execute this. Even though the test case failed, yeah, so the 2 test cases are passed and test cases failed, but you see, so we still have the execution of the teardown and setup method 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, but it shows that at this particular method it is failed. Okay, yeah, that is what it says. Now let us remove this setup and teardown method. I will just take this out and put it into somewhere in the notepad. And now I will just go to the documentation and trying to use this one, and let us see how it works at the class level. Print, I can give it as before a class, and I can use this as a parameter. I can similarly do this as after class, and here I have to make it as 30. The before class and after class method runs once per class. It does not run for every method. During the starting of your test class, it get executed, and during the end of your class, then it get executed. So what it does, first during the execution of your class, first setup class function will get executed, then it will run all these three methods, and after that at the end it will run the teardown class method. Okay, so this is mainly used when you want to do a test preparation, like you want to, in case if you want to do a testing with the Selenium and you want to initialize the WebDriver and open a browser, you can do it in a test class, and once all the tests are executed, then you can use the teardown method to close your browser. Okay, so now let us go and execute this, and you see I have before class and I have after class. This get executed only once. This executes only once per class. Let us go to test cal division, the file where the tests are not organized inside the class. Okay, and still here you can use the setup and teardown, but these are the setup module and the teardown module. Okay, so we will try to copy this, and we'll go to PyCharm and paste this, and here basically you can print before the module. You can give it as a module. Here you can make it as after the module. Okay, yeah, this is ready. Let us go and I think it is better that we comment this. Let us go and execute this, and you see it's the module, right? It executed as a module. Okay, and before the module, this is an instance of module. It gives complete file name. The module is a file here, right? Test calc div is a file. Okay, that is a module. Okay, so that is how basically we can use the setup module and teardown module inside the plain file where the tests are not organized inside the classes. In addition to this, let us try to add the setup and teardown method and see if it also gets executed. It should not get executed because it will only work inside the classes. Okay, let us try and execute this, and you see there are only two print statements, that is before and after the module. There is no statement like before and after the method. Okay, this is not applicable for the test with the plain files. It is only applicable with tests that are organized within the classes. That brings us to the end of this session. In this video, we wrote several test cases and organized them using test classes. we explored different ways to run the tests using command line options and learned how to test for exceptions. We also implemented test setup and teardown methods at method, class, and at the module level. I hope you enjoyed learning with me. If you find this video helpful, please consider liking the video and subscribing to my channel. Thank you for watching.